let's talk about the game.
Elbow, forearm, he's going to be down.
The result of the play is a touchdown.
And then the flag that was thrown on this was picked up.
I don't know, did it get the face mask?
So by rule, the game is over.
The Lions Hangover.
Welcome to the Lions Hangover podcast. I am your sexy host, Brad, and the Lions have just destroyed the Jacksonville Jaguars 40-14. Before we dive into the game, make sure you find me on all social medias, Twitters. I'm pretty active on Twitter during game day, and then, of course, throughout the week, Instagram and Facebook. Always posting little stuff. Twitter poll, though. I always like to do a Twitter poll. So I will come up with some sort of stupid, dumb question and put that up on Twitter too. So make sure you follow me on all of the social medias for all of the happenings. And of course, if you're seeing me, don't forget you can also hear me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you're only listening to me, you get the benefit of not seeing me. But if you'd like to see me, then check me out on YouTube. And those are, of course, the Lions Hangover podcast. So find me at all of those places. So let's dive into the game. I have to say, good things happen when the Lions win the toss and defer to receive in the second half. Jacksonville starts off their drive with a fumble. And from there, it was all Lions. From the kickoff, it was all Lions. Jacksonville did little today. I don't even know if they knew they had a game today. Trevor Lawrence, he went 17 of 31 for only 179 yards. They even took him out at the end of the game just to protect him a little bit because the game was already over. Jared Goff had a fantastic game. I don't want to say he was Pro Bowl material, Jared Goff, but he didn't make any mistakes. He was pretty solid. He went 31 for 41 with a whopping 340 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown had a fantastic day. He caught 11 balls for 114 yards, his longest being only 15 yards, but he was catching everything that was thrown to him today. He had 12 targets, so there was only one incomplete pass thrown towards him. Of course, everybody was hoping that Jameson Williams would make an impact today with his debut. That didn't happen. He didn't seem to be much of the game plan at all, to be part of the game plan. He did get one target. I thought it was okay thrown ball. He was covered. It did look like if he wasn't covered, he was going to catch it. But then when they showed it on the replay, he was also going to be out of bounds too. So, but it's nice to see that he finally suited up and he was able to get out on the field. Hopefully next week when the Lions take on Minnesota, he will be a bigger part of the game. But still, you got to think that they'll probably keep him on some sort of a snap count watch too. They want to ease him back in there. He's a future piece and not an immediate piece. I also think it helps. The Lions had this thing in control from the beginning, and I think we didn't need Jameson Williams, so the Lions just sort of, Dan Campbell, they just took it easy on him today. Like, okay, I think if it was a closer game, maybe you would have seen Jameson Williams get a little bit more involved, because then he would have been more of a weapon for us. But since the Lions had everything in control, there wasn't much that we needed him to do except just suit up, wave at a couple fans and, start dipping his toe in the water because he is going to be a big part in the future. But, of course, they just were fortunate enough to not have to need him today. So then you can acclimate him a little bit better to the process. Running the ball, DeAndre Swift made a little bit of a comeback today. He had 14 carries for 62 yards. That was an average of 4.4 yards a carry, which is pretty good. He had one touchdown himself, which you always like to see. He was doing a bit of dancing each time. You could tell he was trying to break a big run. His longest was only 10 yards today, but it was still nice to see him get involved in the game plan. Of course, according to the injury report, this is the healthiest the Lions have been all season, or since the beginning of the season, really. And then you can't forget Jamal Williams. He had 11 carries for 35 yards for an average of 3.2. And, of course, he got his touchdown. He was the first touchdown scorer of the game today. And then, a bunch of guys have 1 or 2 rushes. We already talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown catching 11 balls, but we do have to talk about DJ Chark. He finally showed up. He had 5 catches today for 98 yards. That's an average reception of 19.6 yards, his longest being 41 yards, and that happened right near the beginning of the game. It was nice to see. I think it was on their first drive. Of course, he was playing against his former team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Regardless, you'd love to see it. You've kind of wanted this all season, and we've been able to get by without DJ Chark needing to be a presence. But imagine if DJ Chark plays like today, Amon-Ra St. Brown plays like today, and then you're adding Jameson Williams to the mix. So you got to think St. Brown's numbers are going to go down once Jameson Williams becomes a presence on the field. But that doesn't make Amon-Ra St. Brown any less of a threat. Because right now, St. Brown is just your jabber, and he keeps punching you in the teeth every time. He's Mr. Reliable. He hits every time, and he does his damage. But now imagine if you have a hook and then like this huge haymaker, and that's, Chark and Jameson Williams. It's the Lions receiving core looks so much different. And you can even include Josh Reynolds. He had some receptions today too. Where's he at? He had 3 balls today for 19 yards. His longest was 8, so he was just coming back from an injury too, so they're just sort of easing him in there. Now imagine if he's your 4th guy. It's just the receiving core is just so much different this year than last year. There's so much more potential. Of course, last year they didn't really start using Amon-Ra St. Brown until the second half of the season before they really figured out what they had and how they can use him, and they're definitely exploiting his abilities this season. He continues to produce. He is Mr. Reliable. He catches everything that comes his way as long as it's a decent pass. And like I said, Goff played great today. He didn't make any stupid mistakes, nothing horribly thrown. I think there was a sack that he took where it's kind of like, he could have got out of that a little bit better, thrown the ball away like you would have liked to have seen that. But overall, a pretty solid game from Goff. The offense was clicking today, but the offense isn't the only story, because you also have to talk about the defense. The defense was on point today as well. Kirby Joseph led tackles. He had 8 total tackles with 7 solo tackles. Anzalone played great. He had 1 tackle for loss and, 5 solo tackles for himself. And he had the 1 tackle for loss, and he threw down Thor's hammer. Did you guys catch that? He had a whopping like that, and he's just embracing his whole Thor persona. So I thought Anzalone had a great game today. Hutchinson had a great game today, too. Statistically, it's probably not going to look like it. He did get a sack. He got a shared sack with, I believe it was, I thought it was Aleem McNeil, but it looks like it could be Jones. Yeah, that's who it was, Benito Jones. So him and Hutchinson shared a sack together, which that was great. Doing that, Hutchinson becomes the first player, maybe Lion, to have 6 sacks and 2 interceptions since 1982, something like that. So a record that has stood for 40 years. But I also have to point something out. It was Houston. He got a sack early in the game, right? Let's just check this stat. I don't want to get anything wrong. Yeah. So Houston had a sack early in the game. On that play, Hutchinson was triple teamed. There were 3 guys blocking Hutchinson, and this is why Hutchinson is not getting enough credit for what he's doing. So when you see a guy like Houston, who he's the first rookie, I forgot and how long, to record back-to-back or sacks in back-to-back first games of their career. But that's besides the point, because what I'm trying to say here is Hutchinson getting triple-teamed allowed Houston to get into the backfield and make that sack on Trevor Lawrence. So that's not a glorious thing to have happen to you, is to be triple teamed. However, this is when the rest of the defensive line steps up and makes their play. So it's the attention, the respect that Hutchinson is commanding from the other team. Now, they didn't triple team him every single play. So, like you're not going to be getting sacks every single play. But him being on the field is making such an impact for the defense that it's opening things up for guys like Houston, for Aleem McNeil, for Kaminsky to get his big paw up there. Like, they can't cover all of them. And these guys are coming on, and the defensive line is starting to bring it together. And it's just, the Lions are in a good spot right now. And I know after the loss last week to Buffalo, there were people saying, oh, it's the same old Lions. Well, yeah, the same old Lions figure out new ways to lose. But these aren't the same old Lions. They hung with the Bills. They've won 4 out of 5 games now. Okay, you can see them turning the corner. And they beat Jacksonville today, who had an impressive win. They had momentum after beating Baltimore, who is a playoff favorite. I don't want to call them a Super Bowl favorite, but they are, they're built to go into the playoffs and compete and possibly get to the Super Bowl. And Jacksonville beat them. Trevor Lawrence has been playing strong. He's completed over 70% of his passes the last 3 games. But the Lions defense today, it was amazing. So they shut him down. Trevor Lawrence only had an 82.6 rating. He completed just over 50% of his passes. The Lions' biggest weakness today was, defending Kirk, the Jaguars receiver. So he had 6 catches for 104 yards. So, but that's only one player, and he had 0 touchdowns. So all of this momentum that was coming into Ford Field, the Jaguars didn't bring it, and the Lions responded after their loss. So this is, I don't think I've ever said same old Lions before on this show, but they're not the same old Lions. You can tell they've really turned a corner. No matter what happens the rest of the season, they're going to win a few more games this season, by the way. We're going to talk about the Vikings in a second. But you can just tell the momentum has shifted. There's a different mentality. And the defense has played great the last few weeks. The offense has been consistent. They're putting up points. I'm not saying they're sexy points, but they are putting up points every week. It seems like ever since that Patriots game where they got shut out, I know they had the number 1 offense going into that game. They struggled for a couple weeks there, but for the most part, the offense has been consistent, regardless of Jared Goff's play. Like, they're still putting up points. They're still, amon-ra St. Brown is still getting his yards, his receptions and stuff. So the defense has sort of been the weak spot of the team, and they've really come on strong. And when both sides of the ball are clicking like they were today, then you get victories like you saw today. A Jacksonville team was thinking they were going to come in here. Lions weren't favored by 26 points. Like, Jacksonville thought they had a chance coming in here, but the Lions said no, So they're not the same old Lions. They've turned it around. So, they're going to lose heartbreakers. Good teams lose heartbreakers. That doesn't mean that they're jinxed or that they're the same old Lions. Like, most of this roster hasn't been on the team for more than 5 years. Like, there's very few Lion veteran players on this team. So the mentality is changing. The culture is changing. I'm not a huge fan of culture, using that buzzword, but you can tell Dan Campbell is bringing something here. He's turning out to not be such a goof, even though he might be goofy, but he's got a coaching staff in place. Ben Johnson is great. Glenn Campbell, I just blew a short circuit in my brain. Aaron Glenn. There it is. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has really got the defense playing together, and it really is, since the firing of Aubrey Pleasance, that the Lions defense has played stronger. So they're coming at it differently. Just a solid overall performance on both sides of the game. I would say game aspirins, amon-ra St. Brown, gets a game aspirin, and I'm happy to say Jared Goff gets a game aspirin. He played outstanding today. His quarterback rating was 115, which is outstanding. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. He only missed 10 passes all game, and they were respectable misses. They were fairly accurate throws all day. Nothing was too crazy. He played smart. He was sacked twice, and I do think one of those was his fault. But regardless, overall, a solid game by Jared Goff. And we're going to have to get a big ol' game aspirin for the defense. If I had to pick somebody out, I would probably give it to Anzalone. But Rodrigo played great. The defensive backfield played great, despite Kirk getting 106 yards or whatever it was. There was no real threat. There was no, oh my God, we can't shut this guy down. Like those 100 yards Kirk got, those were cumulative over the course of the game. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence really didn't throw to anybody else. So nobody worth noting, you know. Yeah, it was a solid game by both sides of the ball, on both sides of the ball. So let's talk about the Vikings. The Lions lost last time, was it 28-24 in Minnesota? And you could argue that if we had a kicker, a solid kicker, Badgley perhaps, the Lions would have won. Because Dalvin Cook, he didn't get 100 yards. He was their biggest weapon when we played him. Kirk Cousins, who is way too mediocre to be so cocky as he is, he threw for 260 yards last time we played him. He had a quarterback rating of 93.5, 2 touchdowns. And you're like, yeah, but they got Justin Jefferson, and he's the man. Jefferson is the man. However, the Lions, Okudah, held him to just 3 receptions for 14 yards. You got to think that it's a different point of the season now. Jefferson's going to get a few more yards, but I'll tell you what, I don't think Dalvin Cook is going to get 96 yards. I don't see it. The Lions' run defense has been playing solid ever since Saquon Barkley. Just that front 4 or 5, like they're and Anzalone and Rodrigo, like. I don't think Dalvin Cook is going to be a big factor in the game. I'm calling it now. That's my prediction. I just don't think Dalvin Cook is going to get 96 yards again. I think he's going to get close, and he might have a big run or two, and maybe this is cocky, and this is where things go sideways, but the Lions are going to be able to stuff Dalvin Cook. He's not going to be a presence, so they're going to make Kirk Cousins throw the ball, which is going to be the Lions' weakness. However, if they can shut down Jefferson like they did, even Adam Thielen, 61 yards, he did have a touchdown last time the Lions played him. Those aren't scary numbers. They're not scary numbers. So if they can maintain Kirk Cousins, they should be able to get some pressure on him, you know, between Houston, between Hutchinson, between Ali McNeil, and even Zach Pascal. The Lions, I'm feeling good. Minnesota is coming here. There's no crazy cross breeze for the kickers to miss their field goals. Badgley had a fantastic game to him. I would give an extra game aspirin to Badgley too. Special game aspirin. I know I usually only do 3. I forgot to do game aspirins last week. I'm sorry. But yeah, Badgley played fantastic today. I think he hit on all 4 of his field goal attempts, all from 40 yards plus. Yeah, this is... I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm feeling optimistic. And the Lions have momentum, and they've turned the corner. And honestly, I think they're kind of pissed that they lost last time to the Vikings, and it's so fantastic that we get to play them again, especially right now. Momentum has shifted for us. I think the Vikings they were beating up on the Jets today. Is that right? I think so. Let's check that out real quick. So, bear with me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Vikings are currently beating the Jets 27-22, and there is. That was the final score. Okay, it was telling me that there was a few minutes left in the fourth quarter, but it just updated. So, Vikings won today. They moved to 10-2. They haven't clinched the division yet, and they're coming next week to Ford Field. How much like, what a storyline. Minnesota clinches next week if they beat us. You know, because we lose, that's a head-to-head matchup. But if we beat them, we're still in it for the division. We're still in it for the wild card. Now, I'm not crazy. I don't think we're going to win the division. But why not make things interesting? Why not make Minnesota sweat a little bit? They've had it too easy playing in our division. I think the Bears beat up on the Packers today. Packers falling apart. Bears are overrated because Justin Fields can only run the ball. He can't throw the ball. He's only a one-dimensional threat right now. And the Lions are standing there like, hey, we can do this. I believe the Lions can beat the Vikings. They almost beat the Vikings last time. So I look for – it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a close game. Today was kind of lopsided. It's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for us. I think we can do it. I really think we can do it. I don't see any reason why we cannot beat the Minnesota Vikings next week. Don't look for Jared Goff to have a game like he had today. Don't look for – like – He's going to have an okay game. Look for him to have a similar game to what he's been having. Go for par for the course, 220 to 250 yards. Look for Jamal Williams to get his 30 to 80 yards, and even Swift is going to get indigestion. Swift is going to get 50 to 80 yards. Maybe he'll blow it up. Who knows? Maybe Jamison Williams is finally going to put his fingerprint on next week. But it's exciting. You've got a lot to look forward to, and I think the Lions can do it. Vikings should be scared. They're 10-2. They should be scared. I hope they're favored because Lions are going to cover that spread, and I am a gambling addict. So, yeah, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. I'm excited. I'm ready for next Sunday already. Can you tell? I'm excited. Anyway, that's it for me. I think I've rambled on for way too long. Again, please check me out on all social medias. Make sure you give me a follow. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on the podcast, the Spotify, and Apple Podcast. You never know. I might eventually, for the off-season, move to an audio-only production with sporadic videos. The off-season is coming up, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet as far as content goes. I do want to stay active, but I probably won't be as active as I am right now. I was gonna say with that said, but I think I'm all set. I am ready for the Vikings. I'm ready for the Vikings. Are you ready? I'm ready. So let's do it. Let's do it, Pride. Let's do it, Hangover podcasters. I love you guys. Please rate, please subscribe, please tell your friends about me. It's been fun so far. I've seen the growth. I appreciate everybody so far. I will see you guys next week, hopefully with the same enthusiastic energy and hopefully with the same outcome. Man, if we could blow out the Vikings 40-14, that would be fantastic as well. You guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and your next week, and I will talk to you guys next week.